So our 2-week quarantine is over. I've been home 15 days. Nobody showed any symptoms. Nobody felt sick. Everything went fine. We had plenty of supplies, and at one point, about a week and a half in, the kids were getting cabin fever, and it wasn't easy for them. But I reassured them that everything's going to be fine. They weren't worried that they were going to get sick. They were just sick of being cooped up in the house. They just wanted to get out. But we did it. It was a good exercise for our family. It more or less proves that if, for some reason or another, somebody gets sick or gets exposed to somebody in the future, that we can quarantine the entire family for 2 weeks. It's totally doable. Our plan to buy groceries 2 weeks at a time helped. We didn't need to have anything delivered, but I did order some stuff that's considered food items from out of state, and they shipped in. And we did have dinner delivered 2 nights. So, I mean, overall, it was fine. I didn't like the feeling at first. I felt like a prisoner, and I didn't like being cooped up at home. I didn't like my mailbox being the limit of the extent where I was going to go out. But overall, it was fine. And this morning, I had a little bit of a sense of dread. I was procrastinating because I really didn't want to go out there. I'd heard so many horror stories about how things had changed in the past 2 weeks. And I finally got out there, and it was a little bit unusual driving the truck at first, but right off the get-go, people were driving slower than the speed limit. Not because of bad weather or construction or anything else, just because people are stupid. So, okay, things are kind of normal. I drove past a funeral home. There were probably 20 cars in the parking lot, and there were people out there, so a funeral was going on. Granted, it's with limited people, but it was still going on. There were plenty of stores and gas stations and stuff that had parking lots that were full. And when I drove through down the expressway, I was supposed to see state police up and down the expressway and roadblocks, and I didn't see any of it. As a matter of fact, I drove through 3 municipalities and saw no law enforcement at all. At all. On the way back, I drove through a 4th municipality. I still haven't seen any LEO. I took the long way back home just so I could kind of look around and see what's going on. When I got to the store, the experience wasn't that bad. I thought for sure they were going to make me wear a mask, and they were going to have areas roped off and tape on the floor with arrows, and people are going to be rude and all that. Nope. They had a sign. They wanted you to wear a mask, but there were plenty of us that weren't, and everything worked out just fine. They had plenty of things in stock, and I bought most of the stuff on my grocery list. I was really surprised. I didn't expect to walk out of there with that much stuff. And the grocery bill was high, but also I was buying 2 weeks at a time. So it's going to be a high grocery bill. And when you're at Sam's Club, you save a lot of money because it's in bulk, but you pay a lot more. You're not going to walk out of there cheap. You just aren't, not unless you're going there for one item. Overall, my experience, finally passed the sheriff, finally saw law enforcement. So overall, though, the uncomfortableness I felt this morning was for nothing, and things were fairly normal. The store was clean. There weren't, people weren't rude. Nobody approached me and said you should be wearing a mask or any of that stuff. There was just, everything was fine, and it was kind of nice to get out of the house. But quite frankly, I guess I was getting used to staying home. And although I don't want to have everything delivered, I'm starting to warm up to the idea I mail order a lot of stuff anyhow. I use Amazon constantly. So I'm used to having some stuff delivered, but I was sort of warming up to the idea of having a few things delivered. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to go back out the beginning of next week to do a little bit more shopping that I won't be able to get done today. But overall, I had a good shopping experience. I had a good experience out and about. Traffic seems to be normal. I mean, there's businesses that are closed, obviously, but there's plenty of other businesses that there's plenty of vehicles out there. I've seen people out walking. Everything's normal. So we got through the 2-week quarantine. We did what we were supposed to do, and we know that we're capable of doing it. My thing is, anybody out there who's listening, if you're thinking that you can't get through it, you can. And if you're thinking that you shouldn't buy a lot of stuff, I'm not saying hoard. There's a difference between stocking up and hoarding. But maybe it's just a friendly suggestion is to maybe pick up a little extra if you can and have a little extra in the home. Rotate out your food. I mean, it's all common sense stuff. I shouldn't be saying this. But just to make sure that if you do get quarantined, or you're asked to quarantine, or you volunteer to quarantine because you may have been exposed and you want to do the right thing, at least according to our guidelines, then you're prepared. That's all it really comes down to, is being prepared. And we were, and we're going to continue to be that way. And we're going to keep learning as this goes on and changes. And these infringements that all these people who don't live in my state that are talking about that I have to deal with, I didn't deal with any of them today. Thanks for listening.